What do a gentle sitcom dad, a fiery talk show host, Batman's first female superhero, and the King of Rock all have in common? They each left us around this week in history, and their legacies still light up our screens and our hearts. Hi, I'm Sarah Reed. As a kid, I used to sneak off to watch Good Times reruns and spin my Elvis vinyl on a too tiny record player. People said I was out of step. I just knew these stories mattered. Today, I'm sharing what I found after digging through vintage TV archives, old magazines, and news transcripts. 4 major figures, 1 moment to remember them. If that opening made you smile, hit like and tell me in the comments, who do you recognize from that list first? You're watching Golden American Legends, where the past feels alive. These aren't just names, they're turning points. We'll remember a sitcom dad who insisted on dignity, a host who made daytime TV honest, a Batgirl who kicked open doors, and a music king who rocked the world. Ready to walk through time with me? Let's start with a TV father whose strength and heart changed what family looked like on screen. First up, John Amos. Who was John Amos, and why did his performance on Good Times hit so deep? For me, it felt like watching a real dad. Strong, funny, and full of love. John played James Evans, the center of a black working-class family in Chicago. The Los Angeles Times even remembered him as the star of Good Times, Roots, and Coming to America. He passed away at 84 on August 21, 2024, and the tributes poured in. Good Times aired from 1974 to 1979, spun off from Maude. John left after the early seasons, but his impact stayed. He clashed with anyone who tried to make James a joke. He wanted respect, truth, and heart. I spent nights rewatching episodes, and you can feel it in every scene. A firm voice, a soft hug, a dad who showed up. Have you seen Good Times? Drop your favorite John Amos moment in the comments. I'm curious which lines still echo in your home. I also flipped through network archives to confirm dates and dug up old set interviews. He talked about dignity like it was non-negotiable, and he lived it. Here's the thing though, Good Times was just the start of his story. What else did John Amos do after Good Times, and why does it still matter? A lot. He played Kunta Kinte's father in Roots in 1977, one of the most watched and most talked about TV events of its day. Years later, he brought sharp comedy chops to Coming to America in 1988. That range was wild. Drama to laughs and always with backbone. When I cross-checked film guides and TV archives, I counted decades of steady work, stage, TV, and film, over 50 years in the business. I even spotted his signature on a preserved Roots script in a library collection. Tiny detail, big chills. What ties his roles together? Pride and principle. He often played men who stood up and told the truth, even when it was hard. And off-screen, he spoke out about stereotypes and better storytelling. That voice helped young writers and actors aim higher. Comment below, which John Amos role did you only discover later? Any surprises? The more I dug, the more I saw a pattern of courage. From a TV father who guided a family, let's move to a different kind of guide, a host who invited a whole nation to talk to each other. Enter Phil Donahue. How did Phil Donahue transform daytime TV? Picture a quiet living room in 1970. Then Phil walks in with a microphone, an audience ready to speak, and a brand new idea. He launched The Phil Donahue Show in 1970, and it ran for 26 years, all the way to 1996. Reuters called him a transformational figure in U.S. daytime television, and I believe it. He didn't sit behind a desk and toss soft questions. He moved through the crowd, called people by name, and took live phone calls. It felt personal and alive. I found old clips where he shook hands, listened hard, and then asked the question no one else would. He passed at age 88 in 2024, and the obituaries kept using the same word, pioneer. Quick quiz for you. Have you ever sat in a studio audience or watched a live taping? Tell me what it felt like. I sifted through 70s TV schedules and audience surveys, and the pattern is clear. Phil changed the format from a stage to a conversation. But it wasn't just how he talked, it was what he talked about that shook daytime TV. Let's go there next. What made Phil Donahue's conversation so controversial? Simple. He didn't duck the hard stuff. Reuters noted that his show stood out for tackling topics like abortion, the sexual revolution, and race relations on daytime TV, with the phone ringing and the audience jumping in. I pulled old transcripts and watched segments where guests cried, argued, and sometimes hugged at the end. It was raw. It was real. In one heat of the moment era, he even criticized a presidential war policy on air during the Gulf War, and he was briefly taken off, proof that the stakes were high. You could feel the studio hold its breath when debates got loud, but Phil stayed calm, kept the mic steady, and made space for more than one view. That was the power, a room where America could talk to itself. Have you ever witnessed a heated public debate, town hall, school board, or TV taping? Share the story. I want to hear how it felt in the room. Digging through his archives, I kept thinking, this is the root of modern talk TV. And speaking of roots, let's see how his style grew into the next generation. How did Phil Donahue's style echo through the next generation? The line is direct. Reuters said he paved the way for future hosts like Oprah Winfrey. You can see it in the empathy, the audience mic, the mix of heart and hard questions. When I flipped through talk show histories, producers kept pointing to Donahue as the blueprint, and he didn't stop at talk. In 2006, he co-directed the Iraq War documentary Body of War, still chasing truth and compassion. He stayed active in media and advocacy alongside his wife, actress Marlo Thomas. That drive is rare. Comment for me. Which host do you think drew most from Donahue? Oprah, Ellen, Dr. Phil, or someone we forget to name? I'm curious where you see the echoes. And if you're feeling these deep, warm dives into classic legends, subscribe for more stories each week. We're just getting started. Now, from opening America's living rooms to open mics, let's head to a different kind of hero who changed what a TV superhero could be. It's time to meet a caped crusader who wore purple, rode a bat cycle, and proved girls could fight too, Yvonne Craig. Who was Yvonne Craig, and how did her Batgirl change TV? In 1967, the Batman series added a new hero, Barbara Gordon, librarian by day, Batgirl by night. Yvonne Craig made that debut sparkle. CNN called her a pioneer of female superheroes, and that fits. She wasn't a sidekick, she was a star. Craig passed away in 2015 at 78, and every headline I found led with Batgirl. I loved poring over fan letters in old magazines. Kids, especially girls, wrote that they finally felt seen. Gadgets, a clever motorcycle, and that bright smile, it all said, yes, girls can do this too. I even found reports from 1967 noting how Craig pushed for fair treatment on set. She knew her worth and asked for it. Poll time. Who inspired you more as a kid, Batgirl or Wonder Woman? Tap the comments and tell me why. I dug into 60s coverage and saw how fast Batgirl became a fan favorite. But the real secret to her power wasn't just the costume, it was the woman inside it. Let's go behind the cowl and see what made her Batgirl feel so real. What made Yvonne Craig's Batgirl stand out from the typical TV sidekick? She brought the action for real. Craig trained as a dancer, and she used that skill to do many of her own stunts, kicks, flips, quick turns. Watching outtakes on old Blu-rays, I could see the focus in her eyes. She wasn't just posing, she was in it. Off camera, she pushed for fair treatment, even asking for pay parity with her co-stars. That took nerve in the late 60s. She also stayed selective about roles, leaning toward TV and stage when some film offers didn't feel right. That choice kept her image strong and helped make Batgirl a true role model. I found a behind-the-scenes chat where she called the action part of the fun, and it shows in every scene. If you could be Batgirl for one day, what stunt would you try first? A high kick? A spring? A rooftop dash? Tell me your move. Going through union notes and fanzines, I realized she wasn't just playing a heroine, she won. And her example didn't stop in the 60s. It inspired fans and future creators too. Let's talk impact. How did Yvonne Craig's Batgirl change what came after? Start with the fans. Writers and viewers kept pointing back to her as a first. I saw a 2015 tweet from a Batgirl comics writer calling Craig her first real-life hero. Actor friends posted sweet tributes too. Batgirl had given girls permission to take up space and lead. In the years that followed, more female heroes stepped up on TV and in comics. You can feel Craig's imprint in how they move, how they fight, and how they care. I combed through old letters columns and modern forums, and the tone is the same. Batgirl made courage look graceful. She mixed empathy with skill, and that balance rings through today's heroines. Question for you. Which female hero first made you feel strong as a kid? I want to hear your story. When Craig passed, I scanned social media and found pages of tributes from people who grew up with her. It was moving. Her spark is still in the culture. Now, let's swap capes for a leather jacket and a guitar. From TV heroes to the original rock rebel, we turn up the jukebox for Elvis Presley. Why was Elvis Presley called the king of rock and roll? Because he blended sounds that weren't supposed to mix: blues, country, gospel, and made the world jump. In the mid-1950s, hits like Heartbreak Hotel and Jailhouse Rock blasted out of radios everywhere. Parents were shocked. Teens were thrilled. On The Ed Sullivan Show, cameras famously framed him from the waist up because those hip moves caused a stir. I reviewed music histories and old charts, and the pattern is clear. Elvis stacked up number ones, racked up awards, and became one of the best-selling solo artists ever. He died at just 42 on August 16, 1977, but his legend kept growing. Pop quiz: what's your favorite Elvis song? Share it below and tell me why it hits you. I love hearing the memories these tracks bring back. I also checked archive reviews that called him a cultural earthquake, and it still feels true. But Elvis was more than a voice. He was a presence. Sharp suits, a curled lip, a wink that could melt a room. Let's look at how that style shaped the stars who followed. What made Elvis more than a singer? 2 words: pure charisma. He stepped on stage in flashy suits, hips swinging, guitar snapping, and the room belonged to him. That energy made crowds scream and cameras shake. Performers studied him. You can see echoes of his moves and swagger in rock and pop for decades after. I tried copying one of his shimmies while I watched his famous 1968 TV special. Nope, can't do it. He had lightning in his bones. Elvis also took that image to the movies. He starred in over 30 films, from Love Me Tender to Blue Hawaii, and kept his name on billboards year after year. I read old reviews that couldn't look away. Even when the plots were thin, the magnetism was the show. Fun moment? Clap along if an Elvis song ever made your hips dance without asking. Same here. Beyond sound and style, his confidence told artists to aim big, be bold, and sell the moment. We watched the special again and cataloged the outfits to get these details right. And the poll hasn't faded. So why does the king still sit on the throne today? After all their stories, what do these legacies mean for us today? They remind me that courage and craft echo forever. John Amos showed the soul of family. Phil Donahue proved open dialogue can change a room. Yvonne Craig turned a purple cape into a promise for girls everywhere. And Elvis Presley showed how music can move a whole world. You still feel it now. Graceland remains one of the most visited homes in America. His songs keep selling, and he holds more RIA Gold records than any other artist. Meanwhile, Good Times reruns and Donahue clips still teach new viewers what integrity looks like on TV. I'm Sarah Reed, and I love bringing these threads together here on Golden American Legends. Comment with one word. When you hear one of these names, what do you feel? Joy, strength, awe? Tell me. If you want more warm research stories that connect then and now, subscribe and share this with a friend who loves classic TV or rock history. Thanks for watching. Which legacy will you carry into your week? The father's strength, the host's courage, the hero's grace, or the king's spark?